Hey y'all, so this is another video. This is a response to a comment about Kim Kardashian, the video that I made. Dear Kimberly Kardashian, former West, suck a dick. There was a comment in regards to, for me to elaborate in regards to the comment that I made inside the video about Black men using colorism as a way to like humiliate Black women. However, it stems from their projection issues, their unresolved trauma drama with their mothers. I discussed this in a previous uh, upload on the BlackWomanVibes channel, YouTube channel, and then I turned it into an actual podcast episode. So if you have access to podcasting, you listen to podcasters, whether on YouTube or Spotify and wherever else they are, the BlackWomanVibes podcast is also on those platforms too, specifically Spotify. I'm gonna pull up that podcast episode just to give you some insight in regards to what I was talking about. And I'll give you the title and the episode so you can check it out. So, this podcast episode was the podcast episode that I'm referring to on the Black Woman Vibes podcast is season 3, episode 1. Black mothers breed their shadow, and it is their children who pay the highest cost. If you have something to do that day, if you at the office, you're just trying to let time pass by, or you're doing the graveyard shift, or you're doing, let's say, like gig work, so Uber Eats, and you need something to play in the background, I would suggest listening to that podcast episode and doing that, because it's a doozy. It's 3 hours, because it ended up being on YouTube. It was a 2-parter video, but for the podcast, I combined both of them because it just made sense. So it's 3 hours, but it's worthy because I dissect the psychology behind the mentality. I dissect certain elements of Black childhood that creates this predicament. I talk about the social economic backgrounds of Black mothers that create these type of men. So if you got the type of time, definitely check out that podcast episode. Again, Black Woman Vibes, season 3, episode 1, Black mothers breed their shadow, and it is their children who pay the highest cost. Now, I am going to give you some bullet points in regards to how all of this intermix. But again, like I said, the detailed version is within that podcast episode. So just go check it out. It's free 99. But a lot of these Black men, they do not have the wherewithal, the skill set, or the connections to make it, quote unquote, make it in America. Let's be real. America is very classist, sexist, patriarchal, and very much white Christian, right? We're seeing this with their Ukraine situation. Palestinians, shame on them for existing. Israel can invade their land and treat them like shit. It's just geopolitics. Russia trying to kick out the neo-Nazis in Ukraine, and Russia implementing its own imperial powers. That's evil. That's dictatorship. Oh, Putin is a new Hitler. As if Russia should allow the United States to swallow Ukraine into NATO, which is an organization that is Western imperial backed, meaning the Germanys, the France, the Italys, the major Western powers include the United States. It is United States backed, and United States and Russia have a long-term frenemy situation. They don't really rock with each other since the Cold War, since Russia was the USSR, and a lot of their neighboring countries like Poland used to be part of the USSR. NATO was able to swallow those countries around by implementing them into NATO. And the closest country to Russia that has Russian roots, that the people are ethnically Russian, are being swallowed or attempted to be swallowed by the United States, backing up Ukraine, specifically that neo-Nazi element within the Ukraine military. Of course, Russia being a superpower, no different than China, no different than the United States, is not going to allow that shit. Just like the United States would never allow Mexico to be real chummy with China. The United States would nuke Mexico before Mexico could even think about having a backhand deal with China, just based off of geopolitics. So I say all this to say is that a lot of these Black men do not have the wherewithal to succeed in this capitalist system. And truth be told, this is late stage capitalism. Even blonde hair, blue eyed people who thought if they got this degree and they was in this right club and they met these right people that they would be safe. The middle class is shrinking by the fucking miles, okay? Most people are finding themselves at the bottom. Most people are finding themselves as the working poor. Most people are living through credit, maxing out this card, opening the next card. Like, that's just what that is. And because of these racist laws, as well as a lot of these Black men, when they get money, they find the closest thing that does not represent their Blackness, i.e. a non-Black woman or a light-skinned, racially ambiguous Black woman, to start their next chapter where they can supersede their race by their class. And oftentimes when they get into certain predicaments, they realize that their race can never trump class, right? When Kanye was out here complaining about how the designer fashion industry didn't want to let him in, he was alluding to it was racism. But when Trump is in office, his buddy, next thing you know, racism doesn't exist. Slavery was a choice. Harriet Tubman wasn't shit. So when it fits their narrative, they spin the narrative, right? But because most Black men will not be a Kanye, will not excel through the socioeconomic ladder that is capitalism, they are not able to mask on, mask off. And because a lot of men, when they are not able to succeed in what is deemed success for a man, success is big house, big car, having a trophy wife, picturesque kids, that aesthetics. Because they are not able to fit into the white package of what it means to be successful in this country, they punch down, right? We see this all the time. Poor people always trying to talk about how they're better than the next poor person. Even with homeless people, there's hierarchy within homeless encampments. So there's always this ladder of someone has to be on top of somebody else. And because we live in this capitalistic, sexist society, who's at the bottom of the ring? Black women. So a lot of these Black men grow up in backgrounds where their mothers were the head of households. And they didn't really have a great relationship with their father. Even if they knew who their father was, they may have not lived in the same household, or that household wasn't picturesque. It wasn't something out of Full House. It was something more like Good Times. And that resentment of not being able to have what they wanted as a child, that poverty struggle, going without struggle, that trauma drama, and as well as because these men are being brought up by Black women, on top of them being Black and being ostracized because of their racial class, they're also ostracized because they're being raised predominantly by women. And that's not to knock women. Women are fantastic. Mothers are fantastic parents, depending on what woman we're talking about. But at a certain point, a Black boy needs to be raised by other men, because only a man is going to teach a man what it's like to be a man. And it doesn't matter how much of a tomboy this mother might be, or how disciplined that she might be, or how much she don't take mess and she'll, set the law. It doesn't matter, because you're not going to be able to teach this boy how to shave his face. You're not going to be able to teach this boy how to tie a tie. You're not going to be able to teach this boy how to navigate manhood, because you're not a man. You don't have that lived experience as a mother. So a lot of them feel resentful because they didn't have those bonding moments with their father. They didn't have that privilege of being raised amongst men. So because they depended on their mothers as a dependent, her child, they couldn't say anything. But on top of that, they resent her because she did not give him certain accesses of what it means to be a man, didn't necessarily provide that blueprint, gave him that priority, gave him that access of what it means to be a man. So a lot of them feel tied to the mother, kind of like a devouring mother type of relationship, where the mother tries to quell his budding manhood by either threatening him, emotionally manipulating him or making him her pseudo husband. So she neuters him because she puts too much of her own trauma onto her son. You see this relationship clearly with the Miss Debs and Waka Flocka, or Lil Scrappy and Mama D. That weird relationship where it's like, is that your mom or your girlfriend? That weird relationship where it's like, not my son. I don't care about these hussies trying to take away my son. You might as well say my man, because that energy is very much my man. So they want to get away from their mothers because they want to break free from that feminine energy. They want to be amongst the men. They don't feel like they are qualified as men because they don't have that manhood experience. So a lot of these men, instead of dealing with that trauma of their mothers, that they did not create healthy boundaries, that they did not go out and be mentored or tutored underneath men that they found role model material, they go out and they find women. So they try to escape their mother by getting with another woman so he could use her as all the emotional labor that he needs, meanwhile emotionally manipulating her to receive nothing in return. This is where you see the Summer Walkers and the South Sides or the Fourth Bay Mama drama trauma, right? They love these men who don't have it for them because they're emotionally hollowed, as well as they are insecure as men. That's why they have the same reoccurring themes. Very much delayed adolescence, childish as fuck, low vocabulary, still think stupid shit like chicken butt is funny, not taking life seriously because they're overgrown boys, no manhood skills whatsoever. And the only thing that they got to offer is that dick and that super predator aesthetic, right? It's cute when you want to be a super predator and you're 50 Cent and you're coming out with In the Club. When you're trying to get on, when you're trying to make money off of the super predator aesthetics. It's not cute when you're driving in a mostly white town and you get pulled over by the police and they see super predator aesthetics. They don't see you as a fully functional male, right? And again, we're talking about race politics, we're talking about class politics, we're talking about all of that. And the few that are able to make it big, masquerading in that super predator aesthetics, they start trying to emulate those they want to be like, right? It's not good enough just to be a rapper. You want to be a multimillionaire. You want to be a billionaire. And how do these multimillionaires and billionaires get their money? They get it through wage theft. They get it through exploitation. So a lot of these men want to emulate, delayed adolescent men want to emulate the men that they see with power. And the men that they see with power, they have certain accesses like the old boys club, old oil money. Like it's not something that you just get within a generation. It's kind of like Hilton, Paris Hilton. She got her money as being an heir to the Hilton hotels. That's something her grandfather or great grandfather built. She is just the offspring. She is just the heir. She's getting money based off of nepotism. So because a lot of these Black delayed adolescent males don't have that same daddy money or great grandfather money, they can only imitate the aesthetics of wealth through what is apparent, what is on the physical, what you can see with the eye. So they get the big mansions, they get the designers, and they get a wife or significant other that matches the aesthetics of success, which is usually white and Asian women, because those with wealth tend to date within their own racial and class structure, which usually happens to be a white woman or an Asian woman or even Latina, just usually not Black. That's just what it is, usually not Black. So a lot of these Black men see anything that is the polar opposite of what Blackness is better, is more elite, is more this, that, and the third. This is why when you see a lot of these rapper dudes, they don't go out and promote Black businesses. They don't go out and promote the Instagram boutiques. They don't do that. The best that they will do is wear a Fashion Nova ripoff of that Black boutique. The best that they will do is use hood Black aesthetics with Gucci and Vera Wang and all these other designers. They're trying to escape their identity. They're trying to escape their blackness. What they're really trying to do is avoid doing the shadow work of their childhood, their trauma childhood. So instead of doing that process, they just keep on reliving that narrative. But this time around, instead of being subjugated by poverty, subjugated by class, now they are on the opposite spectrum, reliving that trauma, but this time they're not being subjugated, they're subjugating. It's like when the oppressed becomes the oppressors. How Jews during the internment camps were oppressed, but now look at them in Israel treating the Palestinians. When the oppressed become the oppressor. So to them, now that they are in the vicinity of white wealth, they start trying to be the quote unquote evil white man to their own people. They subjugate the gays, they disrespect the gays. They talk greasy about women, treat women like literal bitches, literal dogs. Even PETA has animal protections and animal rights given to animals. These men treat Black women inferior, especially the darker that they are, because they're still dealing with their trauma of their mothers and the way that they saw their mothers, the way that they saw their mothers had to be pseudo men, take up the responsibility of men, protect like men, provide like men. So when they see Black women, they expect Black women to be the helper, to be the nurse, to be the mother. They don't see Black women as the trophy. They don't see Black women as someone to protect or someone to admire, to honor, because no one taught that to them by virtue of having a father in their lives, in their homes, doing that with their mothers. So they resent Black women, and the darker that they see Black women, and the darker a Black woman is, the more that he sees her as just this helper mate, but not as a partner, not as a counterpart, but just as a helper. That's why when Kanye came up, he was like, and when he gets on, he leaves her ask for a white girl. That's exactly what he did. And it's kind of like a cognitive dissonance, because when you hear these men talk about their mother, it's all types of queens and goddesses, and I would kiss the floor that she walks on, right? But when it comes to Black women outside of their family, outside of their mothers, oh, they all types of bitches and hoes. Because that's the way that they see Black women in this society. And because they're marrying a fucked up version of white patriarchy, which is fucked up in itself, they feel the need to subjugate women just like white patriarchy. And because there is a color hierarchy, they feel the need to oppress Black women, the darker skinned Black women, even more, just to reaffirm their manhood, their masculinity in this white patriarchy paradigm. Now, they'll lust after dark-skinned Black women behind the scenes. They'll fuck dark-skinned Black women behind the scenes. They'll even baby mama dark-skinned Black women behind the scenes. But they don't feel as if Black women should be treated with the red carpet treatment, because they feel as if that doesn't align with white patriarchy, white wealth. And they want everybody to see that they done made it, quote unquote, made it, and making it is being a rip-off version of white patriarchy and white imperialism. So in the words of Megan Thee Stallion,
don't say that shit to me if you won't say it to your mama.
If you won't say that shit to your mama, don't say that shit to me. I think a lot of these men, just like a lot of Black people, they have real traumas. Trauma of poverty, because that's a real ass trauma. Going without, having to stretch nickels and dimes, having to cut your dietary needs just so you can pay bills. Like, poverty is real trauma. Oh, but also with the victimization, they also have been victimizers. Have you seen the rape stats of Black women and girls? Have you seen the domestic violence stats of Black women and girls? Have you seen the femicide rates of Black women and girls? So yeah, to a degree, they are victims, but also to a degree, they are victimizers. And that's what they hate to admit. They want to evade it, just like white patriarchy wants to evade the brutalities and cruelties that it has inflicted on the global South. Same thing as Black men. Because soon as we talk about what they have done, they want to skate around the issue at hand and blame the evil white man. But when they want to model what success is, they turn right around and align with the evil white man. Correct? Right. So again, this is just a short synopsis of what I was speaking on. I get into a lot more details in regards to the Black Woman Vibes season 3, episode 1. Black mothers breed their shadow, and it is their children who pay the highest cost. Definitely check that out if you are interested in that particular topic. But in essence, yes, this is why they use colorism as a way to chastise Black women, because they know that is something Black women cannot remove. Unlike our weaves and our acrylic nails and our eyelashes, we can remove that when we feel like it. But we cannot remove our melanin. And the gasp of it all, the gag of it all, it will be the darkest midnight shade nigga talking that colorism shit as if their asses ain't dark skinned. So their own inferiority complex, they're projected it onto Black women because they know women in general chase the male gaze. They're looking for confirmation. They're looking for validation through the male gaze, right? Everything, for the most part, that's being marketed to women is how do you capture a male gaze? So if your own counterpart says they reject you because of your natural looks, then you're going to do everything that you can to be the opposite of your natural looks. Everybody else's counterpart wants them, but there's something about Black men who, for the most part, don't want Black women unless they are like mixy, like the Sweeties, the Lottos, the Cardi B's with a dash of black. Like, that's what they like. That's their type. And I say to Black women, someone else's drama trauma is not a validation or a dismissal of you. These niggas got inferiority complexes. These niggas feel insecure about patriarchy. These niggas, this, that, and the third. But you don't go out here bleaching your skin and doing all this weirdo shit just to capture a gaze of a nigga who looks like Kodak Black. It's clear Kodak Black is missing a few screws. What do you look like trying to gain the attention or the attraction of someone like Kodak? It says more about you wanting Kodak than it does say about Kodak or the Kodak aesthetic. So that is my comment. Let me know what you think down below. And I shall see you in the next upload. Peace.